Hi, we are here today to tackle the topic of sleep. This happens to be the number one complaint from my patients. People have trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, and certainly the situation going on right now and the uncertainty in the air is not helping. So, we are going to talk about it and get some tips and strategies and offer a product to help you out with that today. My name is Kristen Woodling. I am a licensed mental health counselor and I own Pamper Your Mind. It is a private practice where we practice a holistic approach to mental and emotional health for professional women. And I'm joined today here with biochemist and certified aromatherapist, Dr. Cheryl. Hi, Dr. Cheryl.
Hi, Kristen. Thank you for having me here today.
Yes. Dr. Cheryl, would you like to tell the audience a little bit about your business and what you do?
Sure. Thanks for that introduction. I am a biochemist who became very interested in essential oils, and I could talk a little bit more about that. But essentially, I started White Rose Apothecary in 2018 with the goal of bringing science to aromatherapy.
Awesome. Yeah, so Dr. Cheryl and I met a couple months back. I was talking to a friend about my desire to find something that was a natural option to help my patients with their sleep issues that they were
That's awesome.
reporting. And she mentioned that I should really meet Dr. Cheryl. And so we met up for some coffee. And as soon as she shared with me her expertise and her perspective and the information she had, I knew I was really personally excited to learn more about her products. And I knew that many of my patients would benefit from it. So I'm excited to tell you guys today a little bit about what transpired from that meeting. But before I dive into that, I would love for Dr. Cheryl to knock your socks off a little bit about her background because it's pretty impressive. So you want to share a little bit more?
Well, you set the bar pretty high, but I'll give it my best shot. So I was trained as a biochemist, got my doctorate in biochemistry. And much of my career, I studied natural compounds and how they act in the living system, a lot in the human body. And, when I first heard about essential oils, my friend took me to an essential oil party, and I thought it was a little bit woo-woo. And then I started looking at the chemistry of these things and seeing that some of these compounds were some of the same compounds that I had used in the lab. And Kristen, as you know, a lot of our drugs come from plants, come from natural sources. So I was wondering if any research had been published on this. And I looked and I was amazed that the research was exploding and getting more and more per year. So I realized that after reading peer-reviewed clinical trials, laboratory studies, and even some animal studies, that there was some real scientific credibility to this. So I decided to put all of this into action is when I opened up White Rose.
Great. Yeah, it was the same way when I was first introduced to essential oils. I kind of had that what is this woo woo stuff as well.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that. And there's just a little bit of guardedness about, the validity behind it. And, how do you pick a brand that is, you can trust and how do you know what you're getting? So
Hmm.
and then you were explaining that to me, I remember at our coffee meeting. So would you share a little bit about how you found your specific products and how you know that you trust them?
I'm very picky about this, especially being a biochemist. And so when I formulate on the compound, not really on the oil, because there can be one compound that exists in lots of different oils. So you could actually, go by someone's taste and they get the same effect. I always use a company. The company that I use is called Aromatics International. They're great because A, they're fair trade, and second, because they tell me the exact chemistry, how much of each compound and the identity of every single compound that's in that bottle. So I can look at a batch to batch different ratio and say, oh, it's a little low in linalool. I'll have to put a little, one extra drop in this one to make sure that they're getting the same benefits. But the fact that it's fair trade, they work with very small farms. They go to the farms and they check out to make sure that everything is good. The people are being treated well and the plants are being respected, organic, pesticide free. And then I'm just interested in the chemistry. And there's a couple companies that do that, but that happens to be the one that I chose. And so if you're looking for a source, make sure that they're open upfront about what's in those bottles.
Yeah, so it's a trusted company and it's consistent, which I
Right.
guess is key, right? Yeah.
It is,
So
yeah.
when Dr. Cheryl and I met, she was telling me about all this. My mind was going a mile a minute thinking about how many other symptoms we could address. But I thought, like I said, sleep is the number one complaint. So I figured that was a good place to start. So I asked Dr. Cheryl if she could come up with something for us. And she went and dug up some research and came back with two really awesome products. One is a whipped shea body butter, and the other one is an inhaler, both made of a blend that she put together. So I'm a night owl. She brought me some samples. I got to take them home and test them out myself, and they smell amazing and they are effective. And of course, they're effective because Dr. Cheryl reminds me that we don't use these oils because we believe in them. We use them because the data says and the research shows that they are in fact effective. So,
Mhm.
Dr. Cheryl, I'll give you a minute if you want to explain a little bit about the research that you found and how you picked the particular oils for these blends.
So, Kristen, I want to make this super fresh for you. So, most of the research that I use is from 2018 up until now. And the first piece of research was on lavender. And you know lavender. Everybody knows lavender. It's probably one of the most popular ones. And this research was published just in January of 2020. And this was a clinical trial on people with type 2 diabetes. And they found that inhaling just lavender helped the duration and the quality of sleep. So that's in both things. It's a really good old standby. Bergamot. Bergamot is kind of like a citrus. And in research published in 2019, it was found to be a mild sedative and also a very mild hypnotic. So I put a tiny, tiny bit in there. There's a plant called spikenard, which is kind of like a little flowery bush. And this was found in the same year to act as a sedative. Ylang ylang is also in both of them. I thought this was a really interesting study that I found. And this was done on men after they had worked out. So, you're all worked up, all your, everything's going on in your body. And what Ylang Ylang did with these men is help them to lower their blood pressure in a healthy way and also help them relax after exercise. The other one that I use, this is a very new one, Roman chamomile and lavender. This was published from Iran in 2020, just January 2020, very recent. And it was done on a study on nurses who were experiencing anxiety. And they found out inhaling Roman chamomile and lavender together for 20 minutes on their breaks helped them reduce their anxiety scores. So Roman chamomile's in there. And from chamomile tea, everybody tries to take that to help fall asleep. I like to do that as well. And the last one I'll talk about is sweet marjoram. And you might think of Thanksgiving when you hear sweet marjoram and herbs of that sort. But what this was done is they're doing a study on people who ground their teeth when they sleep. And I do this. And inhaling sweet marjoram before they went to sleep lowered the amount of teeth grinding. And they also took their blood and saw that their stress hormones were decreased. So all of these things put together are designed to help reduce anxiety, reduce stress before you go to sleep. And also, you wake up sometimes and your thoughts are swirling to try to get that taken care of. And then some of these are mainly just mild sedatives to help you stay asleep.
Nice. So how do people know? So you came with like I said, a whipped shea body butter and an inhaler. Why did you choose to do both of those? And how do people know if they go into our store, which one is the best option for them and how to use them?
It depends on your preferences. So the inhaler is going to give you a fairly immediate effect. And so I like to use mine just as I'm calming down, going to sleep, as I'm breathing. And I like to hear a little bit more because sometimes I'm guilty of using electronics. And so I need your advice on that. So I like to do the inhaler, but also if you happen to wake up in the middle of the night and do this, did I leave the oven on thing? It kind of helps calm those down. So that's more of an immediate effect. I also put bergamot in there because bergamot is phototoxic. So if it stays on your skin, even if you put it on at night, take a shower and go out the next day, it can really intensify UV light and burn your skin. So you only use that in an inhaler. The whipped shea you put on, and it's a slower absorption. So it stays on your skin the whole night. So it kind of helps you relax and then helps you stay asleep.
Nice. Can people use both?
Oh yeah, I do every night.
Okay, great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, you kind of touched on, and I did want to mention this
Yeah, I was
about,
wondering about that.
yeah, so the electronics at night.
Mm-hmm.
We're all guilty of that sometimes, but at our practice, as I mentioned, we do take a holistic approach to health, which means that we look at a problem from all different areas and angles, and we promote balanced lifestyle for overall health. So these supplements or these products will definitely help with sleep, but I also want to make sure people are paying attention to their routines and stress levels. So a good strategy I like to take with sleep is figuring out what time you want to be asleep by and start a bedtime routine an hour before that. And I always tell people, write down what your routine is going to be, like plan it out specifically. It can include warm bath, meditation, hot tea, reading, journaling, whatever that is for you, calming practices. We do want to stay away from the electronics. I know a lot of people like to kind of veg out on their phones or the TV before bed, but that screen time can be stimulating versus calming. And so whatever routine it is you come up with, you want to practice it in that same exact order at the same exact time as consistently and frequently as possible. And what you're doing is you're training your brain and your body to pick up on those cues that this is the time to slow down and rest. And the more you practice it and the more consistent you are with it, just like any other practice, physical activity that you practice in life, you train your mind and body what to do when it feels those cues. In addition to that, of course, we always wanted to monitor, stress. If there's something toxic going on in your life, something particularly stressful, you've got to address that, finding the help, resources you need to find some resolution. Otherwise, it will definitely continue to negatively impact your sleep and negatively impact your overall health. So we always want to pay attention to that. But I think these products are an amazing tool to add to that routine.
So, Kristen, my Kindle has this blue shade thing, or it takes out all the blue light. Do you recommend just not using electronics, or do you think that shade works?
To me, it gets the problem. I think it's a personal. If you can stay
Mm-hmm.
reading and doing what you need to do, then yes. But I think the problem is it's too tempting. So what do you do when you get a text that pops up, or your Facebook notification, and next thing you know, you're down another rabbit hole that was not relaxing or what you were intending to do. So that's the only risk in that. So just to be aware and regulate that for your own, personal habits.
Yeah, I'll try.
Well, speaking of holistic approaches too, Dr. Shell, do you have any other products that you want to talk about today, or anything else new you have in the works that you would like to share?
Something that's been very exciting with my clients is, of course, everyone's talking about this COVID-19, and it's very new. So I looked in the literature, as you do, to see if any research has come out with natural compounds against this virus. And of course, I didn't find any. I'm hoping for some in the near future. But I did find a paper from 2008 in Lebanon on SARS. And SARS is not exactly, but it's kind of related. And they found natural compounds from a laurel plant that were very effective against this virus. It stopped absorption, stopped the replication of this virus, which was pretty amazing to me. So I replicated that chemistry in an inhaler, and then also added some very broad general antivirals. And so people have been very excited about this, and I'm selling lots of those. So I'm hoping that they help people. I'm working actually with a couple different hospitals and sending those to medical personnel.
Oh, nice. That's great. Yeah, I saw your presentation on that a month or so ago. It was pretty impressive. So good. I'm glad people are benefiting from that and taking interest.
Thank you.
So just to kind of wrap up, Dr. Cheryl, what is your website where people can find your products at?
It's wrapothecary.com, and I'm on Facebook as well.
Okay. And if you are interested in the deep sleep products we were talking about today, I do have those up and posted on pamperyourmind.com. I encourage you guys to check both of those websites out, sign up for our newsletters and updates that we have going on. Dr. Cheryl and I are planning on getting together, teaming back up in September to offer a presentation, hopefully maybe face-to-face, we'll see what happens. But we're going to talk about anxiety, and Dr. Cheryl has actually offered to help us do some hands-on activities, so where you can actually make your own oil blends and have something to take home with you, correct?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to have different oils, and I'll talk about the different properties, and you can select what you want to do, what you want to make, an inhaler, whip shea, whatever suits your needs.
Awesome. So lots of fun stuff coming up. Be sure to follow us, reach out if you have any questions. Thanks for joining us. Dr. Cheryl, thank you so much for sharing your talents and expertise with us.
Thanks for having me, Kristen. Take care.
Have a good day.